Good evening. We're going to get started in just one moment.
Good evening, and welcome to the I-526 Long Point Road Interchange Improvements public hearing. First, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge Councilman Chapman. Thank you so much for being here. I would also like to thank you all for joining us here in person, as well as those who decided to join us online. I'm Cerise Gillens Oliver, and I will be your public hearing officer tonight. Tonight's public hearing is a hybrid. For those joining us online, if you need assistance or experience any technical difficulties, please feel free to call or text our hotline at 843-258-1135, and someone will be happy to assist you. Again, that number is 843-258-1135. So let's begin by going over tonight's agenda. First, we'll explain the ways you can comment here tonight, or at least by May 17th. Afterwards, Tyler Clark with SCDOT will present our recommended preferred alternative, which will include how we incorporated your feedback from last year and the steps that we took to move forward. Next, we'll move into the formal verbal comment session. We'll begin by calling on those who signed up to speak in person. Then we'll shift to hear from those online. I will now turn it over to Amy Livingston to walk you through tonight's comment procedures.
Thanks, Cerise. For those of you joining us virtually, I want to go through a few technology features we'll be using today to make sure that you're able to fully participate in this meeting. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar that looks like the one being shown in the presentation. Starting on the left, you'll see the chat button. You'll notice you're only allowed to send messages to the host. This ensures that the chat is clear, so when we call your name, we're able to see it. The next button shows the show caption, or it says CC on it. To ensure this meeting experience is as inclusive as possible, live captions are automatically provided by Zoom. To access them, hover over the presentation to bring up the black toolbar. You should see an icon that says CC. From there, you can turn on closed captions and select the language. The last button is the raise the hand button. We ask that you raise your hand when your name is written in the chat or called. This allows us to be able to identify you quickly so we can ask you to unmute yourself. Again, as Cerise mentioned, if you're having any technical difficulties at all, you may call or text us at 843-258-1135, and that number is also written in the chat box right now. To make sure this session is as meaningful as possible, let's go over some of the basic procedures, and we'll go over them again right before we start. During tonight's session, we want to hear your feedback, whether it's positive or negative. As such, there will be no questions and answers. If you do have questions, we have staff available in the lobby until 7 this evening. And also in the Emergency Operations Center, or you can send us an email if you think of something later. While verbal comments will not receive a response, written comments will. Only those who signed up in advance will be allowed to make a verbal comment. If you missed it, don't worry. I'll go over some ways that you can comment in a couple of slides. When we get to that point, I'll be calling out 5 participants at a time. When your name is called, for those in person, if you could line up along the wall right here so we can ensure that you're present when it's your turn to speak. And when you come up to the podium, there are a few things that we're going to remember. First, you'll have 2 minutes to say your comment. You'll start by stating your name, address, and any group affiliation when you come up to the podium, and then your 2 minutes will start after that. There is a timer that will be right here for you to see if you're in person. It'll show on the screen if you're online. Additionally, right here, we have someone here that will wave a yellow paddle. And if you're at 30 seconds out, and then wave it again red when time is up. We ask that you be respectful of this. Also, time, it's not transferable. That means you can't give your time to your buddy or save part of your time to allow someone else to speak longer. Please, please refrain from any profanity or personal attacks during your comment. For those of you online, the procedure will be very similar. When your name is called or typed into the chat box, you'll raise your hand using that feature we just talked about. So think about that as the virtual line. You might have noticed you're unable to unmute yourself. So when it's your turn to speak, you'll get a notification that Zoom host has asked you to unmute. Please select unmute when this message comes up. And then same thing, once you unmute, please provide your name, address, and organizations, and your 2 minutes will begin. And after you speak, don't worry, we're going to mute you back. So just like in person, same rules. Don't worry, we'll go through them one more time just to make sure you remember. Commenting doesn't end just tonight, though. As I mentioned, our official comment period runs through May 17th. You can submit a written comment on our website, which is listed on the screen here, 526 lcclongpoint.com, or by sending an email to info@526lowcountrycorridor.com. If you prefer to send a physical comment, we do have some comment forms available, and they'll be near the exit at the end of this tonight. And we also have that address on the screen. All the ways to comment are also available on the website. So if you don't take this down tonight, you'll have an opportunity. So at this point in time, we will really get started, and I'll turn it over to Tyler Clark for tonight's formal presentation.
Thank you, Amy. As Amy said, my name is Tyler Clark. I'm the project manager for this project. I think it's important to first establish a little bit of project background for this particular project. Some of this will be some repeat information, and I'll note that all of this information will be available on the website and is what we have been presenting here tonight at the public hearing. So it's no secret that Charleston area, Mount Pleasant, has been seeing a growth spurt in the last couple of decades. So several interchanges along I-526 have noted interchange deficiencies and the need to improve operations within 526 as well as within these interchanges, this one included. So in order to address these concerns with this interchange, we sought this project in order to improve operations as well as reduce operational conflicts of port-related and local traffic. It's important to establish some understanding further on that with our traffic analysis that we've conducted over the past year. On the next slide, you'll note in green is the recommended preferred alternative if we were to build that, as well as in blue is no improvements made. You'll note a substantial decrease in trucks along I-526 and along the improved ramps. I'm sorry, not along I-526, but along Long Point Road. The improved ramps and Long Point Road see a substantial decrease in the order of 50 to 60%, and everything from eastbound is directed, and you'll see the 90% trucks on the new ramps on the eastern end of this. Next, there is the anticipated traffic operations, and similarly in the no build conditions, you'll notice quite a bit of red, orange, and yellow. These are undesirable levels of service. That's with the no build again in the AM and the PM peak hours. If we were to construct the recommended preferred alternative, you'll see a lot more green, again, desired levels of service, A, B, and C. Highly recommended. Next, we'll discuss a little bit about the alternatives analysis. You guys are familiar with several that were presented last fall. This is not changed, and I'll briefly go into how we develop those alternatives. Essentially, we establish from the project purpose and need in order to address those deficiencies a high-level concept of potential alternatives that could work. Further than that, we conduct additional, more complicated traffic modeling, engineering, and analysis, and develop what are called reasonable alternatives. This is what we presented last fall. We received your feedback and developed additional adjustments to those alternatives, more specifically to reasonable alternative 2, which is now the recommended preferred alternative. You'll notice on these couple slides here that other than alternative 2, they do not properly address the project purpose and need. So that is ultimately why we went with reasonable recommended alternative 2. Specifically for this recommended alternative, there are potential impacts that are important to note. More importantly, relocations. There are 54 potential relocations, all of which are commercial in nature. There are no residential relocation impacts. At this time, we anticipate the project can cost between $280 and $360 million. So let's get more into the recommended preferred alternative. We have a wonderful artist rendering of this recommended preferred alternative, and I'll hit some of the major changes that have occurred since that fall public information meeting. First of which is, you'll notice shipping lane on the left side of the picture. We have decided to cul-de-sac shipping lane in order to reduce operational conflicts and safety adjacent to this new interchange ramp. This was a partnership with FHWA and SCDOT. Second, Seacoast Parkway saw some some adjustments to the recommended preferred alternative to reduce the impacts to Seacoast Parkway and to the entrance of Tidal Walk entrance. And then finally, you'll notice we have elected to leave the left turn at Bell Hall Parkway. We heard your feedback loud and clear at the public information meeting. We conducted additional traffic analysis to ensure that this was reasonable, and as such, we were able to leave this left turn in. So hopefully that has addressed most of y'all's major concerns. And then there is an additional bit of new information, which is the noise analysis, which is not available until this environmental assessment at the public hearing. And so we conducted this analysis. It's included in our document. So it's important to know what is a noise impact. A noise impact is an undefined or is it defined as an unwanted or excessive sound. FHWA and SCDOT have established thresholds in order to determine what is a proper abatement criteria. So this analysis was performed and we developed recommendations based on that. So currently we have recommendations on this noise wall as a part of this environmental assessment presented here today. And the next steps for this are to get feedback from you guys on the noise analysis as well as the noise walls themselves. Specifically, noise ballots will be sent out to those who would benefit from the noise wall and get their input. On the next slide, you'll see an artist representation of what the noise walls could look like from varying viewpoints throughout the project. This information is readily available online if you would like to view further. So what are the next steps for this project? Importantly, we're here at public hearing. Why are we here? Well, we received federal approval of our environmental assessment. What's next? We are in the process of finalizing and refining the design further. We are seeking the final federal decision this fall, in addition to starting our right-of-way process. Again, that is anticipated for this fall. SCDOT is anticipating construction to begin in spring of 2025. And that's all I had. I just want to thank you guys for participating. And if you got any questions, please come find me afterwards.
Thanks, Tyler. Before we begin the formal verbal comment session, I'm just going to briefly remind everyone of the procedures. First, we're going to start with those who signed up to speak in person. And then after that, we'll shift to those who are joining us online. Just to put it up there again, if you're having any technical difficulties, 843-258-1135. Okay. So just a couple of reminders, this isn't a question and answer session. Only those who signed up by 5:55 this evening will be allowed to speak. If you missed this period or would like a response to your comment, you may write a comment at one of the tables in the lobby until 7 o'clock tonight, online on our website or via email or mail through May 17th. So I'm going to call out the first 5 participants at a time. When your name is called for those in person, please line up against the wall. You'll have 2 minutes to say your comment. There's going to be a timer right here for you to watch. You'll also see this yellow paddle up here when you get to 30 seconds and red when you are done. Make sure you start with your name, address, and any group affiliation. So if you'll give me 1 second, I'm going to go over there to my list. All right, so the first five would be James Goats or Gates, if you want to come ahead and come up here. Alan Townsend, Jean DeGrule, Tenzil Rana, Martin Blanchard, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. If you guys would please stand up here and wait for your turn to speak, and we'll have Mr. James Goats give us a start right here at the podium. We'll give it a minute just in case someone. Are any of those five people here? That's all right. Not a problem. Just want to make sure you have an opportunity. I'm going to pause for another 10 seconds and then I'm going to move down the list. Just to give you guys a heads up, we have 15 people signed up in person and that was the first five. All right, moving along to the next. Casey Hunt. Do we have a Casey Hunt in the house? There we go. First one down. And then following behind him, if you wouldn't mind standing over here after him, Sterling Wright Jr., Ray Hackle, James Gardner, Ramiro Montalvo. And Mr. Hunt, if you want to go ahead and make your way down here. Yeah. Yes, sir. Just if you want to step right up to the microphone right there, and don't forget your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Casey Hunt. I live 225 Swallowtail, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. So today I do have some serious issues here. To me, I'm here to ask a few questions. They talk about a song wall where there is no values as to the distance from the road to that wall. We don't know a height. We don't have a decimal reading. Another deficiency we do have in that whole presentation is a flyover. There is no reports of the sound study that was done, whether it's by 3D, whether it was by a model. We don't have that. There is no answer as to how that will impact us, human, the environment, the species around us, the quality of life, floods, all adverse effects. Another issue I do have is that what medication do they have? Not medication. What mitigation do they have if one of these trucks falls over that flyover and capsizes, and then what? Do they evacuate the entire neighborhood to accomplish their goal? I think we need to be very prudent about this, because I think once the developers get their foot into the door, then it's going to be a big oops, and then there is no recourse, because then it becomes a legal issue. So I would just like you to think about that. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Yes, sir.
My name is Ramiro Montalvo, 351.
I'm sorry, if you could stand in front of this one right here with the microphone. I know this is the town one, but this one is going through the feed.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. There we go.
Okay. My name is Ramiro Montalvo. I live at 351 Fernhouse Walk in Bell Hall Plantation. And I've been there for quite a few years. The reason why I wanted to come is because before about a month ago, I looked at the map to see where would be the best place to go through, so the project wouldn't have to pay for properties that had to be taken over. And I found a little path where no properties are in the way of a small path to get up to the 526 coming in and going out. And when I saw the final plan, I saw that they were going to take over a lot of properties. And so I came early and I talked to the engineers why, and he was very good. He gave me a lot of explanations, answered most of my questions, but still a few remained because it came down to if these options could have been available a little sooner, it could have been put into the plan. So with the SCOT and all kinds of other places that govern this, because it's an interstate. All these I didn't know about all these interstate requirements and curvatures but so the only thing that I was not feeling too good about is they're going to take over quite a few properties, and that's going to cost much more money, which means probably higher taxes. I don't know who's paying for the whole thing, but so for that reason, it's what I came. But other than that, I got pretty good explanations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Montalvo. The other three names that I called, I just want to make sure we hadn't missed you. Sterling Wright Jr., Ray Hackle, James Gardner. Okay, so the next five will be Patrick Jones, Beth Ann Holbrook, Angie Anderson, Brendan Shields.
Good evening. Dr. Patrick Jones. I'm a veterinarian and glad I made it to the meeting on time. But I actually just opened up my hospital down on Long Point Road in November. And so this is something, I'm also a resident in the Bell Hall community, your neighbor, sir. So I do see it from both sides, but as far as a business perspective for hoping to be here serving the Long Point community for the next 30 years of my career, I do think this ultimately is a sacrifice that's necessary to, in my opinion, get us to where we can expand that side, have better access to businesses down on that end of Long Point. It is common to hear clients asking why, when's the best time of day to come when the trucks aren't there? And it can be an issue for me, but on the same thing, I agree, relocating people is not something that I would like to see happen. It's good to hear. It sounds like no more residents have to be relocated, but there are some businesses. So I see the downside as well. But ultimately, for my opinion, I think it's a good plan ultimately to move forward with and hopefully allow me and other neighbors around me to continue to grow and expand our businesses like everybody else and hopefully develop that end as much as we have the other side with Dog and Duck and everything else that I'm sure all of us like to hang out at. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Beth Ann?
Hi, sorry, everyone's calling, of course. I'm Beth Ann Holbrook. I live at 530 Antebellum Lane in Bell Hall. I also help run the Place Facebook page. Really quickly, all I want to say is was hoping for a little more transparency tonight around what's next. I know we saw the timeline, but this project just got announced April 17th. The mailer came in on April 19th. That most of us received, but it just showed the study area and not the actual recommended preferred alternative. So I was hoping that would have been a little more apparent to everyone. But I'm just asking for transparency for what's next. Everything that we've looked at today and that's been online is a conceptual drawing. We all know that it could move 10 feet, 6 feet, and it will absolutely impact a lot of our homes in those neighborhoods. So I want to know from them, I know this is not Q&A, but I'd love to hear what's next up because we need to be able to respond appropriately for this next round. And as far as I can tell, we don't really get a say from here on out. So hopefully you all, I'm happy to email. Hopefully you all can answer that question. So thank you all. That's it.
Thank you, Beth Ann. Angie Anderson?
Hey, I'm Angie Anderson, 396 Tidal Reef Circle. I'm in Grassy Creek, and I feel like I'm up here for Grassy Creek and Tidal Walk. First, I would just want to comment how blessed we are to live in a state and a town that actually the government is for the people, because we have been here repeatedly voicing our concerns, and most of those concerns have been addressed. And we're extremely satisfied with moving the truck bridge so that it's not, it was taking the Grassy Creek entrance and the Tidal Walk entrance, including 2 houses. So the way it's, and you're right, Beth Ann, it's drawn to show that it's down the road farther. Tonight, well, we're very anxious to see the sound wall. We await that and can't wait for that. We need it now. The truck noise is exceeding any kinds of decibel level. So we know that we need that now. So we look forward to that. We want to know also that there will be a planting along the wall so that, you know, Seacoast Parkway, there's going to be an actual planned planting. And that's what we look at. I just got back from Florida, and all of the sound walls are beautiful, tall, and have gorgeous plants all over in front of them. And I hope the same will be in Mount Pleasant. And also I want to really echo what Mr. Hunt said about the sound wall. There's a lot of details that we don't know, and we're anxious to know what those will be. And I know that now Seacoast Parkway, there will be an encroachment into the wetlands at one section, and no one was able to really answer how's that going to impact the tidal creeks that run through our neighborhood. So I'd like a little more information on that as well. But overall, we are pleased, and we thank you for hearing us, Mr. Chapman. Please extend that to the rest of the town council, because we know that you had a big part in this. Thanks.
Thank you, Angie. Brendan Shields. Brendan Shields. Okay, with that, that concludes our in-person attendees who signed up to speak. We will at this time transition to those online. Just as a quick reminder, please stay and listen to those folks. But if you do have additional questions, our staff will be out at the stations until 7 o'clock tonight. Okay, so earlier, as I mentioned, you don't have the ability to unmute yourself. But what we will be doing is I will be calling out the first 5 names, just like we've done in person, and ask that you raise your hand there online. That will alert our moderator to be able to find you. When it is your turn, when I call your name, the moderator will ask you to unmute. You'll get a prompt on the screen. And when you get that prompt, if you would please select to unmute. At that time, same thing, please give your name, address for the record. Okay. So the first person I have online is Brian Clark, David Hill, Thomas Hayes, Heather Chadwick, Inez Schmeltzer. And again, the names should be in the chat window, but Brian Clark, David Hill, Thomas Hayes, Heather Chadwick, Inez Schmeltzer. If you could raise your hand now. And we'll start with Brian Clark. Okay, we don't see Brian Clark. I'm going to give you a second if you want to go ahead and continue to find the raise your hand. We're also looking for you. David Hill. Do you see Thomas Hayes? All right, Thomas, we're going to start with you online. We're going to ask for you to unmute yourself now and start with your name and address for the record, and then your 2 minutes will begin.
So Thomas Hayes, 309 Etowah Point. Just real curious to find out more about the sound wall. As that sound wall will be kind of right out of my front door, and just wanted to get some more information on what it's going to look like and how that is going to help the sound through that area on at a one point. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Just really quickly, I don't know if our technical team is working on this, but we want to make sure that we have the timer visible for those who are online. Give us just 1 second. I have up next Heather Chadwick. If you'll just give us 1 second while we work through that. Okay, we also do not see Heather Chadwick, so if you're there as a phone, please unmute yourself. Okay, the next person we have is Inez Schmeltzer. If you could please raise your hand. Okay, we're going to start calling the next 5 names. Again, I believe some of these people probably signed up to watch and maybe didn't sign up to speak. The next 5 names, if you wouldn't mind, please, raising your hand. Robin Mayhouse, Allison Jones, Maggie Jameson, Jessica Noy, Paul Hansen. Please raise your hands. At this time, we do not see any of these participants logged online. So if you are on there, please raise your hand. Okay, this might be going a lot quicker. Okay, the next 5 on my list, again, same, please raise your hand if you are on and would like to speak. Mark Condon, Mary Mitchell, Brittany Groom, Jose Dalmarco, Mark Davidson. Okay, Mark Condon, if you would, please unmute yourself and say your name and address for the record, and then your time will start.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Mark Condon. I live at 209 Slipper Shell Court. Just had one quick comment. I would like to see more detail about the sound wall, specifically as to when construction is expected to start. Other than that, I think the project looks very good, and I'm very impressed with everything that you have done. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Condon. Mary Mitchell is the next name on our list. Okay, Mary, we do not see you logged on, so we're going to move to the next name, Brittany Groom. Please unmute yourself. Brittany, you should be seeing something on your screen right now, a pop-up that is asking you to unmute yourself. We put a little bit of a visual up right now. We're going to move to the next name. If you would, please maybe put a chat into the box just to let us know if your intention was not to speak. As a reminder, if you do have any technical difficulties tonight, this is not the only way to comment. In fact, numerous ways to comment. If you're online and you've been to our website, which you have to sign up, we can take your comment there as well. So our next name online is Jose de Amargo. We're looking for you, Jose. Not seeing your name there. So the next name on the list is Mark Davidson. Mark Davidson, we're asking you to unmute now. If you would like to unmute and state your name and address for the record and then move on with your comment. Mr. Davidson, if you're looking for the unmute button, if you hover, there we go. Thank you. If you hover right there, you should see this. The host would like you to speak and you can just click the unmute button right there. Even if you don't want to give a comment for the record, we encourage you to unmute and let us know. All right. It appears that Mr. Davidson is not unmuting. Again, multiple ways to comment. So I'm going to read out the next 5 names. Let's give this one a try. Tanya Atonen, Brian Weichman, Jay Mason, Chris Williams, Mike Banks. Jay, I believe you're the only one that we see online. So if you would like to unmute yourself now, you should be getting that request. And we have heard from Mr. Chris Williams that he would not like to speak for the record. So Jay Mason, if you are on and would like to speak, please unmute. If not, please send us a message so we can also have that for the record. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to the next 5 names. Chris Delmonico, David Schmidt, George Johnston, Maria Good, Dennis Deal. Chris Delmonico, you should be able to unmute now. And we have received word from Chris that he would not like to speak. I'm going to give one last call to the others. We're not seeing you, but George Johnston, we see you online. Would you please unmute if you would like to speak? If not, please send us a chat and let us know. Again, George, if you would like to speak, you should be getting a unmute request. Maybe to make this flow a little bit better, if anyone is online and signed up and would not like to speak, if you would please put that in the chat box. We'll try to watch for that so we can make this flow just a little bit better for you all. Okay, so we don't see any other people online with those names. So the next 5 people are Becky Blakeney, Elizabeth Kennedy, Harry Swisher, Cheryl Need, Kim McEwen. Again, please raise your hand if you are on the line. Harry Swisher, it looks like you're the first one that we can find on here. Please unmute yourself. Mr. Swisher, if you want to go ahead and state your name and address for the record and begin your comment. It looks like you're unmuted.
My name's Harry Swisher, 526 Antebellum Lane. The only thing that shows up to me right now on this webcast that we have right now is that it's really ambiguous, and you show 27 or 30 different situations of where the traffic will flow or whatever, and it's impossible to understand. As I look at it today, that there's 2 ramps that go into Long Point and out of Long Point, and it looks like it's logical, but the rest of it, I don't know, as far as the wall is, and I think that's the big thing right now, is to find out where the wall is in how it will affect Bell Hall or Seacoast Road that goes up from here towards the Wando Bridge. I don't know. I'm still a little apprehensive about it, but I think that they've showed so many renderings that it makes it very confusing. But if you look at just the one that they have right now, it seems like it's okay, but I still want to know about the wall.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, the next 5 names are Christopher Elliott, Gunter Kruger, Marcel Bravosnak, Ray Hackle, Brendan Shields. We're looking for your names now. Thank you for everyone for your patience. Please raise your hand. Okay. Give me 1 second because we are online. What's your name, sir? Shields. Okay. Who is? Christopher Elliott. We see your name. We're asking you to unmute. If you would say your name and address for the record, and please provide your comment.
Hi, my name's Chris Elliott at 488 Turnstone Street. Actually, I wasn't expecting it. I've just signed up for the web on the Zoom, but I do have a question. My question is some explanation of the timing of the sound wall and when that will be going up as part of the project. That would be my question.
Thank you, sir. We've recorded your comment on the record. And I have Brendan Shields, who signed up online and in person, and he's here. So he's going to come up to the podium now. And again, if anybody we missed online for technical difficulty, please put a note in the chat and we'll circle back to you. Otherwise, this is our last presenter. Commenter. Just talking to them. I just needed a computer up here.
All right. Well, I have two comments. My name is Brendan Shields. I live at 119 Revolution in Bell Hall. For the next iteration of renderings for view F, I would like to see the flyover because I believe that's going to be above the tree line. And I think that should also be taken into account for the noise studies. Of note, thank you for getting me or sending me the data. But what I've learned today was that the air braking is not necessarily part of the model for the noise settings. And I think that might be an issue with the height of that flyover and its proximity to my property. And especially with that incline and decline with potential acceleration and air braking. So please take that into consideration before we pass this. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Just before I give this back over to Cerise to wrap us up, I just want to pause if everyone can have a little patience just to make sure that we haven't missed anyone online. I know this is a first for many people doing this in a hybrid nature. So if you signed up and heard your name and are able to raise your hand now, we will circle back to you. We're seeing none. So with that, that concludes our formal verbal comment session. At this time, I'll hand it back over to Cerise to discuss the additional ways you may comment and to wrap up this meeting.
On. Thank you, Amy, and thank you all for your participation. Please know that your feedback is extremely vital for the future of this project and that all comments received, whether written or verbal, will be evaluated and included in the project's records. If you did not have an opportunity to comment tonight or would like to make an additional comment, you can do so by visiting our website, sending an email, or stopping by the comment table as you exit and fill out a comment card, or simply pick one up and mail it in later. Please know that each of these comments will receive a written response. Before I conclude, we ask that you continue to stay connected with us. On the screen are all the ways that you can continue to receive up-to-date information on this project. The website also has all of the meeting information or materials you saw tonight in English as well as in Spanish. This concludes tonight's hearing. Thank you again for your participation and please be safe.